Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Justin Weldon. He is a transformation life coach, specializes in identifying the beliefs and habits that hold people back, and he helps them develop customized plans to help overcome them. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Justin. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about how one can build better life habits. We'll learn all this from Justin. But before this, let's understand a bit about your journey, your background, so that people know more about who they are listening to.
Yeah, so I have quite a backstory. I actually went down the wrong road from a very young age. I didn't have a lot of male guidance to kind of teach me how to be a man and be responsible and accountable. I ended up dropping out of high school. I started drinking, using, and ended up coming into my faith later on in life. And from there, I kind of just started to see life from a different perspective. And I started to, understand that I needed to create a life for myself. And from there, it was just kind of, how I learned to move forward and build a better life and better habits.
Right. And that is what a lot of people want to understand. Firstly, they have all the things that they need in their life, but what is it that leads them to a different path, which is not good? And then later on they realize, but I want to understand, like in your case, what was it that you could not understand it at early in life and you went a bit different, and then you came, as you talked about faith, but we'll come to the faith part later on. What is it that makes them go astray, if I understand it from that perspective?
I would have to say just not having, a solid role model to kind of teach them things. I think essentially they should be taught in, like your late teenage years, early adult years. If you don't have, a positive male role model to kind of help mold you and shape you into, being responsible and accountable and, having a good work ethic and just having a good character. And I think that is, kind of people start going down the wrong road at a young age. And, as you get older, you kind of get to a point where you feel like you're meant for more, and you are pretty much left to kind of pick up those pieces, put them together, and move forward to create something positive for yourself and the people around you.
Right. So how should people pick up role models at that early age? If someone is not a role model within the family, there are so many families, and things are different, not so great about that. So people have to, you just can't give that as a reason to go out. You have to make sure that you are going the right path. So how can young people especially find good role models for themselves early in life if it's not available in their own families?
Yeah, I think that can be a difficult question. I think you have to be involved in positive activities, whether it's sports or church, any type of habits like that. I think being around people and community is really important. And I think that's kind of where you can find people that'll kind of you can lean into, that'll help kind of be there for you and show you how to live a better life and to make better decisions.
Right. And how did you take that right path? You talk about the role of faith. So tell us a bit about that so that, people can learn a bit for themselves if they want.
Yeah. So I didn't come into essentially building a better life until much later. I was an adult at this point, in my 30s. And so for me, my faith played a big role in it. I pretty much kind of spiraled out of control. I was in some trouble legally. And, I kind of just woke up, and one day after getting into some trouble, and I prayed, and it kind of went from there. And so they kind of go hand in hand. And I just started to create different habits and want better for myself. I felt like I could be a help to others as well. And so I think that's important, finding a purpose, you know, how you can help the people around you and people that you needed when you were in that situation at a younger age. And I think you just try to bridge that gap.
Right. And when you talk of recovery, is recovery about that? Or when you talk of recovery, is it something about something else? Is it about alcohol? Or help us understand about this.
Yeah, so I ended up I started drinking and using at a very early age. I was about 14, 15 years old. I started drinking, smoking marijuana. You know, that led to other drugs. I would say I'm not so much in the recovery part. I have experience in it. You know, I was kind of just, sounds strange to say, but just used during parties and social times like that. But yeah, I think at some point my alcohol consumption got out of control and I started to, you know, I ended up losing my job. I ended up, I was looking at some time behind bars for some of the stuff that I had gotten in trouble for. And so to me, I just ended up knowing that wasn't my purpose and that's not what I was put on earth for and not what I was meant for. And so that kind of really propelled me to want to change.
Right, right. So you talked about faith. What's the role of mindset here? Which one? Do they come together? Or is it just faith will work or just even mindset will work? How does that work, Justin?
I think they do work together. I think that finding your faith is what's going to really change your heart and change your character of who you are as a person. And that's going to allow you to dig deep and it's going to allow you to take responsibility and accountability for not only your past to kind of get over and move forward. You know, I think there's a lot of shame and guilt from living a lifestyle like that. You know, you kind of lived many years not being the person you should have, not being your authentic self. And I think, having a connection with God and your faith is something that will work hand in hand together you got to change from the inside out is my belief. And that starts with your heart and learning how to do that and being obedient in your faith. It starts to change your mind. And so that's how I kind of see it working together.
Right. And you talked about, when people go the different path, the not the right path, it can lead to a lot of impact. What are the impacts that it creates apart from the immediate impact that you do not have does it also create limiting beliefs or are limiting beliefs created by other factors?
No, I think it definitely creates limiting beliefs. It puts fear and anxiety in you as well, right? So generally, I know for myself, speaking from experience, I mean, I had a lot of a really big mess to clean up from the past lifestyle. And so you can't get over those things and you can't work through it if you have a limiting mindset and you have limiting beliefs because you're always going to, fear is kind of going to override your emotions and you're not going to be motivated and you're not going to be disciplined. And so those kind of things can just build up and you have to learn to forgive yourself and you have to learn to love yourself and you have to really be ready to change your mindset and put the work in to move forward in life.
Absolutely. So, how do you do that? How do you change your mindset? You are an expert in this, identifying beliefs and habits that hold people back and develop a customized plan. So, tell us about your clients. What is it that they come for? How do you do this? Change mindset, change that limiting belief pattern.
Yeah, so this one, it gets a little tricky because it's different for everybody, right? Some people are more self-reflective and some people, kind of tend to always have an excuse for things. And so I think using motivation as well as discipline is a really big key, right? So how do you feel? It's easy to do things when we feel motivated, and we have that feeling like we're going to change and we're going to do better. But feelings fade and feelings go away and they change. And that's where the discipline has to come in. And so, you really try to teach people to work past those things. And when you don't feel like working out, you're going to go work out regardless of how you feel. And when you just catching the way you think, right? So it has to do mostly with thinking patterns. I think people will think themselves into a rut, and they'll think themselves into a place where, they don't believe that they have the power, and they're not worthy to adjust the things that they need to adjust. And so changing those thoughts and then having discipline to execute them on a daily basis is really one of the key things.
Right. So, in terms of you creating healthy habits that we are talking about, how does one create that? Does it happen overnight? How do you know these are the habits I will need for myself, or you just create habits which are general? How does that work vis-a-vis any particular goal that you may have or may not have finalized till now, but you still want to get on to building some good habits?
Yeah, so I like to kind of use a method where you are I like just easily and simply put, it's addition by subtraction, right? And so what I tend to have people do is have them write down things that they don't want to do, that they know aren't going to help them change, and they know aren't going to help them move forward in life, and make a list of those habits, right? So you want to get rid of these habits. And I think what we tend to do is we dive in too deep, and we think we need to get it all done the next day or the day after. And so essentially, then you create a list of things that you want to implement and things that you know are going to propel you to a better life. And these could be any goals: financial, they could be career goals, they could be, something you're starting a business, anything like that. And so you kind of just, tip those scales of habits that you don't want and habits that you do want, and you stick to them on a daily basis, and that's really a good starting point for most people.
And generally, with regards to challenges, someone who has not done any of these things for years, suddenly you try to build a habit, not even just try it once or twice, but you are trying to look at building an habit. How do you do that? Because your habit is not to have these habits, and suddenly you want to have these habits for yourself for a longer term. So how do you do that, and what are the challenges one should expect in such a thing, which if I understand, could be very normal for a lot of people?
Yeah, so it's very, very common, and it goes back to the limiting beliefs. So people start to talk themselves out of things, and so you have to be able to work through these obstacles, and you have to have the willpower to do it, as well as the discipline. And that's kind of why I try to remove, especially in recovery. There's a term called the pink cloud, where you kind of just think everything's great and there's never going to be challenges, and it's a little point where everything kind of starts to go right. And usually when you're at that point, you're not used to things going right, and so you can kind of open yourself up to making some mistakes and not creating these habits that you need to be having, and stay disciplined. So again, it's really, I think when you get people to start looking at the way they think and what they think is really key, because then they'll start to kind of catch them thoughts in the middle of this process, and they'll be able to say, you know what, I can do this. And you know what, even though I don't feel like this, I'm going to go do it because I know what the outcome is going to be.
Right, Justin. You are a transformation life coach. And so a lot of people want have this whole idea about transformation, that it's like going to a saloon. You go inside and come outside at a very different sort of a person if you have got a lot of get up change and all. But in life, is transformation also like that? Or is it that, okay, you should not expect too much, it is gradual, and that it is a continuous process? How should one look at transformation for themselves?
Yeah, it's definitely a gradual, continual process. There are some things, that are low hanging fruit, that are kind of easy to get out of the way, and just start. Half the time, the battle is for people is to just start this process, right? And so celebrating the small wins that are happening in your life on a day-to-day basis, right? So finding things that you're grateful for, finding things that you're noticing, that these different habits are creating on a daily basis, they're all going to add up. And so the gradual process is, you'll get to a point where you kind of won't even recognize who you used to be. And that'll be like a foreign person to you. So yeah, I would definitely say it's a gradual process. And, we like to see results instantly, right? We just everything is instant gratification. And so you kind of have to get that out of your mindset too, that you're not going to be in a week where you would want to be, right? And so noticing the improvements you've made in between that time is really key to say, for them to be able to look back and notice their progress and feel good about it and take those results and build on it and try to create a snowball effect with these clients to just build and build and build.
Right, right. So, in terms of your coaching, is it available only offline, or people from anywhere across the world can connect with you?
Yeah, so it's anybody. It's I think it's on the screen there. Yeah, livingtruecoaching.com. It's actually a venture that I have going with my mother. We do it together. And so, yeah, you can get a hold of us on livingtruecoaching.com, and that can be done from anywhere you have internet access.
Wonderful, wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.